welcome back to A Word About, and yes, I do own more than one shirt. Today we're going to be talking about thiamine, better known as B1. It's a vitamin found in a particular order, wheat germ, brown rice, duck, pork, basically anything that has a leg, a huge number of plants, and most importantly, if you're English or you have the misfortune to be Australian, in Marmite, or Vegemite. Yeast extracts all over the world, famous for containing huge numbers of B vitamins, and thiamine is no exception. But what does thiamine actually do? Thiamine, like most of the B vitamins, is deeply involved in the production of energy. In particular, it is a cofactor in the reaction that returns pyruvate, which is the end product of splitting up a sugar molecule for energy, into acetyl coenzyme A, which then gets fed into another reaction which produces even more and more energy using oxygen. Without going into too much detail, because the Krebs cycle will be covered in depth in another video at some point, basically without thiamine you're not going to be able to get rid of pyruvate, meaning you won't be able to produce anywhere near as much energy as you could per molecule of glucose. Thiamine is also involved in the processing of alpha-succinate into another molecule inside the citric acid cycle, and is vital for the hexose monophosphate shunt, which is every bit as catchy as it sounds. Basically, it's an alternative way of getting energy out of a glucose molecule if for some reason you can't go through the citric acid cycle. Women only need about just under a milligram of thiamine per day. Men need a little bit more than a milligram of thiamine per day. So it's quite difficult to get a deficiency of it, but there are ways to do it. Firstly, the disease known as beriberi in Asian countries was first identified in Western literature by this chap, who found that some of his chickens, being fed on white rice, had this unfortunate habit of dropping dead. What was happening was that because there wasn't enough thiamine in their little chickeny systems, they weren't able to produce enough acetyl-CoA, that's the enzyme I mentioned earlier, so they weren't able to produce enough energy to keep their body going. Now in beriberi there's a range of symptoms, but the most important one is the build-up of pyruvate in the heart, which causes the dilation of the blood vessels around the heart, and eventually if you exhaust the heart by not providing enough energy through aerobic glycolysis, then it's going to die, and then your chicken will, and then there's no more eggs, so that's bad news. The same sort of thing happens in humans, it turns out. The other disease of thiamine deficiency is Wernicke-Korsakoff's encephalopathy, in which the brain tissues begin to use a technical term, pack up. Now, Wernicke's syndrome, to use the shorter name, is associated with memory loss, confusion, frequent vomiting, and dementia or delusion, general state of confusedness. It's also caused by severe alcoholism. That is to say, if you drink lots and lots and lots of alcohol, your body has a very hard time absorbing thiamine. So, if you drink lots of alcohol, which makes you confused and delirious and affects your memory, you could develop a disease which makes you confused and forgetful. And there's a bit of a problem there. Because how are you supposed to diagnose that, given that if someone presents with, they drink a lot, they don't know where they are, they're confused and their memory's shot, you're probably going to assume that they're just an alcoholic and tell them to stop drinking. Which might work if they're getting enough thiamine in their diet already, but if, like those poor chickens, they're eating lots of polished rice, or not enough Marmite, they'll continue to get sicker and sicker and eventually die. Now, the good news is that with thiamine injections or changes to the diet, beriberi is completely curable. Meningi-Korsakoff's disease, on the other hand, is sort of curable in that people might stop being as confused, but their memory could be totally shot forever. Like, short-term memory, whoop, out the window. So, make sure you eat your Marmite. So, that's been our very brief trip through the wonderful world of thiamine. Fortunately, the B vitamins are pretty simple to cover, so we should be able to rattle through these really quickly. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe the video and share it if you found it useful, or you just want to get your mates to laugh at my stupid face. Have yourself a wonderful day, and I'll speak to you very soon. Bye bye!